Alright guys, here is my unboxing video for the 2024 release of the USS Enterprise NCC 1701D, the Enterprise from Star Trek The Next Generation. And apologies if it's at all a spoiler, but it's been all over things for a month to a year now. Yes, the Enterprise D does have an appearance in Star Trek Picard. I'm going to get my rant out of the way first thing. I find it just absolutely nuts that this model has never had any real updates in the past 35 years. This is essentially still the very same model kit that was on hobby shop shelves in 1989. The plastic really has not been changed despite being molded in a few new and different choices. And that brings us to the big update for this edition of the model kit. This model kit is injected in translucent plastic for lighting. So this follows the trend of the USS Voyager and the Enterprise C, where it's done in a translucent white plastic. So you don't have to drill out the windows if you want to light this ship. And of course I'm going to light the Enterprise D because I have this wonderfully lit Enterprise E, and I'm going to need these two kits to be on the shelf together. So here's my Enterprise E, and on this model kit, I did have to drill out every single one of those windows. And I think on this one, I drilled out quite a few of them. I had to use a little pin vise and make all of those lit windows cutouts and holes with a handheld drill. So I'm very, very glad I won't have to do that on this Enterprise D. But it's going to need to be lit to match this model. I also need to make sure the Enterprise D is lit so that it matches this ship on my shelf, the Enterprise C. And this model, I did not have to drill out any holes. The Enterprise C, just like the Enterprise D, is molded in a clear or translucent white plastic. So all I had to do was paint the entire model kit, make sure it was completely light blocked, and then scrape away the paint where I wanted the light to shine through. So you can see there, really nice windows, a very cool lit effect. And this was 1,000 times easier to get all those windows opened up because it was just done in that translucent white color. So for comparison, as we look at the model kit, we have my Enterprise E and my Enterprise C, and the Enterprise D is the very same scale. So we'll keep these two out as we kind of look at the Enterprise D. But all three of these next generation ships are 1/1400th scale, and they'll all look great together on the shelf. So let's get to it. Let's look at the USS Enterprise D, injected in translucent plastic for lighting. We've got a gorgeous image of the Enterprise D. Along the bottom, it does tell you there will be a supplemental decal set available to provide all of the decal paneling. More shots of the Enterprise on the side. Here's our decal sheet. We will look at that in a moment, but yes, it does have all the lifeboats. Huge 9x13 full color decal sheet featuring bonus USS Syracuse registries. Includes a dome base with metal support rod, and along the back, just like this model kit has always had, detachable captain's yacht. The saucer section is removable. It is 18 inches long and 36 pieces. And this is a model kit that many of us have seen many, many times. This is a model kit I built when I was a kid. I probably built this model somewhere around 1991, 1992. I don't know that I've built this kit since then. You know, frankly, just drilling out all those windows did not seem to be something I'd want to do. I also wasn't that interested in painting the entire Aztec panel scheme. But thankfully, round two has solved the lighting issue by making it in this gorgeous translucent white plastic. They've also solved the Aztec painting problem with their Aztec decals. I have not yet decided if I'm going to do Aztec decals or buy a masking set and airbrush it, but we know for sure I'm going to light it. So here is the Enterprise D saucer, and you can see about the same length as the Enterprise E saucer, but much, much wider. Take a look at it there. As they say, this is the fat one. So you can see much wider. Hard to see some of the detail with the translucent white, but you can see it does still have the Aztec paneling. You can see it still does have the windows molded in, locator pin for the bridge. This is kind of an odd model because it's always been really just good enough not to need any improvements. And that's, it still just kind of boggles my mind that the Enterprise refit had a model in the 80s, and then it has the 1000, it has the 350. It's been done a couple of times. The Enterprise D never really gets touched. And Star Trek The Next Generation is really the definitive Star Trek for many, many people. So it's kind of unbelievable that this model kit has never been updated or improved. It really does suffer from just being good enough not to warrant those changes. So that's a look at kind of the engineering hull. And you can see that engineering hull a little bit bigger than the Enterprise C's, about the same as the Enterprise E. Here's a look at our nacelles. You can see it has all of the raised panel lines engraved that it always has. And I really don't mind those. I know a lot of people sand off these little lines. That really wouldn't take much work. They're barely on there. I don't mind them. I know a lot of people will sand them off and mask it off and paint those panels or just use the decals, but I don't mind the panel lines. You can see the nacelles a tiny bit longer than the Enterprise C. Definitely shorter than the Enterprise E. But once again, you know, these models are going to look good together on the shelf. Now this piece is probably the reason I have avoided building this model for years and years. The translucent white plastic is really going to help me light it, but this part is what makes lighting this model kit so hard. And frankly, it's the part that intimidates me and makes me worry the most about this build. If I can conquer this part, I know I'm going to have a good looking model kit, but frankly, I'm just a little worried about doing this because somehow we have to get wires from the middle of this engineering hull up to the nacelles, and this is a single piece of plastic. There is no place to sandwich the wires in to run wires from here out the top of this nacelle. And I've seen all the methods. I've seen the method where you dig a trench right here, put your wire in, and then put like a photo etch piece above it to cover up your wire. I've seen the method where you just glue magnet wire along the leading edge here and along the back so you don't dig anything and you just have the thinnest wire possible kind of following that curve. I have seen a method where you take a pin vise and drill straight down so you can hide it in here and then kind of feed it in the bottom. I've seen trenches along the outside edge. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. You know, I do think kind of trenching the outside would be the easiest place to get a trench. But then you would lose a lot of this easily seen detail. So maybe along the inside where it's a little harder to do the trench, but it won't be as easily seen might be the way to go. And then if you do hide it behind paint on this part. But yes, the challenge on this model kit will be running wires through a trench through this single piece of pylon. And if you can get that done, you're going to have a gorgeous model. You've got Aztec decals to help you with the paint job. You've got the translucent white so you don't have to drill out the windows. But finding a way to light those nacelles is still the challenge for this model kit. Now, obviously, the selling point of this model kit is the translucent white plastic. So I'm going to show a quick video. This is the Enterprise C. This is the USS Voyager. And as you can see on these model kits that are done in the translucent white, you light block the non-lit parts from the inside. You light block the entire ship from the outside. You paint your base colors, and then you can just scrape away that plastic to let the light shine through. And it's a fantastically easy way that I like about the translucent white more than the clear being done, and this has been done in before. The translucent white is not brittle the way the clear plastic is. You know, it works like normal styrene. So as you're doing something difficult, like digging a trench in this nacelle, you don't have to worry about it cracking or breaking the way clear styrene would. On the sides of the inside box, you do have wonderful shots of the USS Enterprise. No full color diagrams to show you the paint colors, just a lot of really cool shots of the ship. In addition to the translucent white plastic, you do get a sprue of wonderfully clear plastic for the deflector dish, the nacelle grills, the Bussard collectors, the impulse engines, all done in a very nice clear plastic. We have our captain's yacht, we have our shuttle bay door, we have our bridge, a couple more shuttle bays. This version of the model kit does come with a dome stand, which I'm a little torn about. Yes, it will make it match the other ships in my collection, but I do kind of miss the crazy two-part stand that would let you display the battle drive of the Enterprise and the saucer separately. So I think that's a bit of a miss. But most people display it as a fully connected ship anyways, especially if you're going to light it, so that's all right. And that brings us to this very large decal set. Like they said, it's 9 by 13. So you get all of your transporter emitters, you get your banners and pendants, you get your registries, you also get a ton of lifeboats. So you're not going to need to paint all the lifeboats on the ship. Here they all are. You get lots of little warning symbols, all those done in red. You get your RCS thrusters done in nice yellow, registries for the nacelles. And yes, you get two registries. You get the USS Syracuse, you get the USS Enterprise, you get registry numbers for both of them. So you could build this as the 1701D, as seen in Star Trek: The Next Generation. You know, Star Trek Picard's been out there for a while, so I don't feel too bad about this spoiler. If you're a Star Trek fan, you probably know this already. The Enterprise D makes an appearance. It's been rebuilt using the nacelles and the star drive of the USS Syracuse. So if you want to build the model as it is seen in Star Trek Picard, you use the Enterprise decals for the saucer, and then for the star drive and the nacelles, you put those USS Syracuse labels on it, and that is how the ship is depicted in Star Trek Picard. So, USS Syracuse, if you want to make it as the Syracuse, or the Enterprise D as seen in Picard, or just use the 1701D decals if you want to represent the ship as it was in Star Trek: The Next Generation. So that's my first look in probably decades at the 1701D model kit by AMT and Round 2. And I'm always just going to be a little bit baffled as to why we never got an updated version in a hero size for the Enterprise D. But, you know, credit where credit is due. They're doing a lot of things to make building this model kit easier. You know, 30 years ago, you would be painting all of these lifeboats by hand. You would be painting the entire Aztec paneling without masks for airbrushing or Aztec decals. Round 2 and AMT will be having a new release of the Aztec decals for this model kit. So if you don't want to airbrush all the panels, you will be able to buy the Aztec decals to do that wonderful paneling very, very easily. So the things they've done to make this model kit easier, the molded in white to make lighting easy, the Aztec panels decals that you can buy separately to make the paint job easy, the lifeboats that are included with the kit so you don't have to paint those. They're doing a lot of things for us to help make the model kit easier and to help it look great on your shelf. And if you want to airbrush it, if you want to sand off those panels, you can still do all of that. But if you're looking to build this and have a great looking ship, use the decals, use the lifeboat decals. use the translucent plastic to do the lighting. They are doing things to help us make this kit look great. So yes, I'm a little intimidated about running the wires through the pylons to light those nacelles, but other than that, I'm actually very, very excited to work on this, one of the best hero ships for Star Trek, one of the best known USS Enterprises, the 1701D. I'm excited to get to work on this. I'll do quite a few videos about building this ship and lighting it. I'm still undecided whether I'm going to get some masks and airbrush the Aztec pattern or if I'm going to use the Aztec decals. But either way, this will have an Aztec pattern when I'm done with it. It will be lit, and I think it'll be a good looking build up and a good looking model. Thank you guys for following the videos on this channel, and I'll be back very soon.